morning, Columbus. Welcome back to Ask Our Parent Coach. I'm Terry Manrique.
And I'm Alina Greif.
And today we have a special show. Alina, do you want to introduce our show?
Yes. First of all, the show is brought to you by Working with Parents, Central Ohio's leading parenting experts and coaches, where we create a safe place for parents to seek help and support on topics such as parenting, communication, relationships, and emotional intelligence.
And today we have a guest she's a Columbus mom blogger from Columbus. She's a mom of 4 beautiful kids, and her blog is called, can you say the name of your blog?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Shanisty, Ireland, and my blog is just shanisty.com.
Shanisty, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. I'm sorry we
Yeah.
started off a little rough, but thank you so much. Well, there's a lot of reasons why we have Shanisty here, and she's actually going to talk about a subject that's really, we want to bring some awareness. Shanisty had gone through some experiences with her son and her son Adam, and Shanisty are here to bring awareness and make sure that we're spreading their mission to share about RSV. And we also experienced this in my household, RSV, and we know how dangerous this can be, and that's why I'm really I really want to bring this out and talk about it a little bit more. So Shanisty, can you kind of share your story about how your son ended up getting RSV?
Yeah, for sure. So as you mentioned, Terry, I have 4 children. At the time when Adam had RSV, he was the youngest. My older son, Luke, was in preschool at the time, and he came home with just the funk, the normal, I'm at preschool, I've got gunk, it's a virus, cough, cold, it'll eventually pass. I took him to the pediatrician's office, and they said just that, just do the Tylenol, the Motrin, the things that parents always hear. It did pass down to my daughter, who was 2 years old at the time. She ended up getting sick as well. And then Adam, who was my youngest, was only about 5 weeks old when this happened. And I pressed the pediatrician to say, whatever this is that's going around, is he going to get it? The pediatrician's office kind of assured me that because I was breastfeeding, he would have extra immunities. Not saying he would be completely protected, but I wasn't really scared. I wasn't nervous. A couple of days later, he started getting sick. He was unable to hold down any milk. He was unable to breastfeed. He was unable to take milk from the bottle. He was coughing. He was running a low-grade fever. And so I took him back to the pediatrician's office, and they swabbed him, and he tested positive for RSV at the time.
And RSV is actually very common, right?
It is, actually. It's 90, believe it or not, 90% of children will have RSV before they turn 2 years old. It masks itself. I guarantee you've had it, Terry.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody that's listening has had RSV. It is a cough. The reason why it is so dangerous for a small child like Adam at the time, or the elderly, or anyone that may have any kind of congenital heart disease or anything going on with them internally, is because the lungs have not fully developed in a small child like Adam. When they're a baby, they can't cough that stuff out. Right. They don't know how to do that, for one, and for two, babies at that age cannot breathe through their mouths, so they're constantly trying to breathe through their nose. So their lungs have not developed, and it can be deadly.
Yes. So what does RSV stand for?
Yeah, I was going to just exactly.
It's respiratory syncytial virus is what it is.
So I think the reason we really wanted to have you on the show is because I think that's the main thing, is because it is considered as a common cold. It's not something that everybody does, end up having it. But the signs, and I think that's what I really want to talk about today, is what are the signs that parents should look out for? And we don't want to scare parents, to be, overly protective when your child has a cold, especially when they're young, but to just be aware of the signs. And also, really, I think the most important thing that we want to leave everybody with is to follow your intuition as a mom, right? If you feel that something is just not right, which I think I want you to talk about a little bit, Shanisty, because I know that you said when your kids were all sick during this time, you had gone to the doctor's office to do pediatrician several times, right? So for you, it's just another common cold. But nobody really gave you the true education of what are some things you should look out for.
Sure. So to go back to your original question, the signs to look for when your child that is that young is starting to get sick is the labored breathing. You'll want to remove their onesie and take a look at their chest and see if they're actually contracting. You'll be able to see their rib cage. You'll be able to see there's a small V underneath their neck, and it's very visible. It's very obvious that this child is in labored breathing. Their lips could turn blue. There could be dehydration. Their fingernails could turn a different color when you touch them. Those are all sure signs that your child is in distress, and that's where Adam was. It happened so rapidly. It happened so fast. It went from, hey, your child has RSV, take him home and watch him, to if we didn't get him there, if we would have waited, there could have been a different outcome.
So, go ahead. Sorry.
No, but I do want to say, because Terry, you brought up a really good point. Not all children will go to the hospital. So it's really important to me to spread awareness, but to also make sure parents aren't sitting at home freaking out,
Right.
taking all these videos of their children's breathing, taking them to the pediatrician's office, because even if your child has RSV, is tested positive, it's a simple swab of the nose. It takes seconds to do. It does not mean that they're going to end up at the hospital.
Correct.
Adam spent 5 days at Nationwide Children's Hospital, hooked up to all of these machines. He was in extreme distress, but that doesn't happen to everybody. And so while it's important to discuss it, it's important to raise awareness, I also don't want to raise any red flags saying your child's going to end up the way mine did.
Yeah, because the percentage is not, I mean, it's high, but not an alarming high, right? That it can make that turn.
But this season's been really bad. Nationwide Children's Hospital here in Columbus has seen close to 3,000 cases in the month of December alone. They ended up running, I don't want to say running out of hospital beds, but they had to have the children in the triage level a lot longer than moving them up to a room because they were overrun with RSV babies. It's a really, really bad season this year, and unfortunately, I've spent a significant amount of time with research doctors at Nationwide Children's, and they don't really know why. I wish I had the answers. They wish they had the answers. But some seasons are worse than others. And it's regional as well. There's areas in the country that have higher levels of RSV than others, and it's surprising. Florida actually has the highest amount.
Wow.
So it doesn't have anything to do with necessarily it's really cold in Ohio.
Yeah.
So
I know that there's no vaccination for this, right?
correct. And I there will be some people that are going to listen to this and say, oh, but my child did get a vaccine. There is something called Synagis, and it is on the market, and it's on the market for premature babies or babies that are at extreme high risk of contracting RSV at a young age. You have to petition for it. A lot of times insurance doesn't pay for it. It's an extremely expensive vaccination. So a small amount of children will receive Synagis in their early lives. My child was full term. He was 9 pounds. He is not eligible for this. Yeah. So to answer your question, as common as the flu vaccine, no, there is no vaccination on the market right now for it.
And you went to Washington to bring awareness to this, correct?
Yeah, last fall I spent some time with the National Coalition of Infant Health, and I told my story. I spoke with a pharmaceutical company that was working really hard to get a vaccination on the market. I met with their entire team, and I shared my story, and I talked about how just important this is to get a vaccine on the market, and it's also why I spend a lot of time down at Nationwide Children's Hospital with the research doctors there because I want to press them and make sure that this is happening. It's a small part, and I feel that that's why I'm so passionate about sharing Adam's story. I know that there's a lot of parents out there that might go through something like this and just want to put it behind them, and that's okay. We all deal with things differently. But the path that I've taken is sharing our story as loud as we possibly can to spread awareness and to talk with lawmakers and to talk with research doctors to try to get a vaccine on the market. They're very close. I know that they're working day and night on this thing. They've been working for years and years and years. They're just not there quite yet because, similar to the flu, RSV is a virus that manifests, and it changes every year. And just when they get close enough to thinking that this is it, and it's going through the trials, it'll change.
Yes. How is Adam doing now?
Adam's going through the I want to do it myself, like that.
Independent too. Yes.
And his health is good. He does require breathing treatments. I don't do them every single day. I do them when he's coughing a lot. When I spoke to the doctors just a couple of weeks ago, I asked, do you think this is a direct result from RSV? And it could be. It could also be that he's asthmatic and he has allergies and other things. Unfortunately, they don't test for a lot of that kind of stuff until they're about 5 or 6 years old.
Yes, you're right. Because I know my son has asthma too, so a lot of what you're saying is something I dealt with myself, and that has not because of RSV, it's just because he developed asthma at a young age. So now we have to do those tests periodically, make sure his lungs are developing, and he has an inhaler that he has to use. So very familiar with that myself. So for parents who are listening right now, what would be your advice if they're noticing that their child is struggling to breathe, they are suspecting possibly that, what do I do? Like, I'm really worried. Like, what is the call of action that you recommend parents take? Like, what action?
I recommend they get to their pediatrician's office and they push for the test.
Okay.
If you feel that it's more than just a common cold, if you go to my blog, shanisty.com, I have tons of pictures and videos, and I have videos on YouTube. If you just, my name's not super common, so if you just Google my name, I guarantee some of this stuff will come up, and you can take a look at this video. I have a video of him on there when he was 6 weeks old, visibly struggling to breathe. And if you feel, no one's going to know better than you as the mother or as the father or as the caretaker, the grandparent, whoever it may be. I recommend you push your pediatrician for that test. And then you would know. And I'm not saying if they test positive, they will end up in the hospital. But at least you would know, what to look for. It gives you a peace of mind. And you understand that it could spiral. It could very quickly. It could.
And is there an antibiotic for RSV?
No,
right?
There's not.
There's nothing.
Nope.
So it's just like we have to it's like the flu. You just kind of have to let it run its course.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah, and you can do breathing treatments. If you want to do some home care things, the nose Frida, I am a huge fan of that.
What is that?
It's going to sound really gross.
Yes,
but I do want to
But
hear
I'll tell you,
Yes.
it is literally this tube that you stick inside your child's nose, and then you suck.
Okay.
The snot will not get anywhere near your mouth, but it's the most effective way to get snot out of your child's nose. And when I was with Adam, they actually would not discharge us until they watched me and my husband both perform this nose Frida to make sure that we could get the snot out of his nose. So
that's what you had to do once you got home, even after, right?
Totally, because he still had now, RSV, of course, is respiratory. It's going to affect the lungs, but it drains down, and there's everything.
Yes.
Everything was going on with him at the time. It was not a fun time.
Yeah. Wow. Well, thank you. I really appreciate you sharing that knowledge, because I think that's so important for us to be aware. My nephew, he had RSV. He was about 8 weeks old, I believe. And my sister-in-law came, and I was taking him out of the car seat, and when I took him out of the car seat, I can literally see, like you had said, and this was with his shirt and everything on, this intense breathing where his little lungs, you could see how he was just, when he was inhaling, you could just see his rib cages, just like that deep, hard stress of taking just a simple breath. And that right away, I noticed that, and I'm like, this is not right. There's something wrong. And she immediately called her pediatrician, and they said take him straight to the hospital. And thankfully, because we described the fact that he was having such a hard time breathing, and he just had a cold. He didn't have any fevers. He didn't have anything. So it can happen anytime. I think the most thing that you want to look out for is the tension that they're having in their chest. The breathing. I think that's the biggest sign is the breathing. And if you see that your child is struggling in any way with, from their visually seeing their chest or hearing how they're breathing or watching that they're just struggling, that's an indication that something else is not right. And something else is going on.
Get them tested, get them treatment, find out what it is, and if your doctor isn't, like in your case, I remember you said something that when you went to that pediatrician, they told you to take Adam home and just watch him for a while, right? And it's just going to go away. And then you noticed it wasn't going away, and you made a call to take him to Nationwide Children's Hospital, correct?
Right, yeah. When I took him in, it was around Christmas time, and I wasn't even seeing my normal pediatrician at the time. I was seeing somebody else, and there was a million kids in there. Everyone's sick. This is my 7th trip there in 2 weeks with 3 sick kids. I was fed up. I was exhausted, frustrated, and so I just said, okay, well, I'll just take him home and watch him. Yeah. And I didn't really know what I was watching him for. And I don't know. I really encourage parents to do your education. And also, I want to say that Adam was my 3rd child. So I felt like, all right, I got this parenting thing down.
I'm like, all right. Now,
But it can happen to anybody. I know that there are definitely a lot of statistics that show that children that live in homes with a smoking parent or live in a heavily polluted area or perhaps pets, they're going to be at higher risk. And we didn't have any of those things going. So it can literally happen to anybody. Just because your 1st and your 2nd never had it doesn't mean your 3rd, and it doesn't mean your 4th will have it. I have a 4-month-old child at home right now, and I've been scared, but my pediatrician, which I'm not with that practice anymore, I'm with a new one, said, hey man, like, I know you're stressed, but he's okay. He's not going to get it. It doesn't mean that just because Adam had it, every child therefore will receive it.
Well, even if they do get it, it doesn't mean they're going to be in such dire, situation where they need to be hospitalized.
It's just something that, we talk about the flu all the time. We talk about colds all the time. We talk about cold and flu season, and it really needs to be cold, flu, and RSV season.
I agree.
Yes.
And I think that this year, I don't want to say having a bad year of RSV is a good thing, because it's not. But I think that we're finally talking about it, and we're hearing about it on national news, and it's okay to say, hey, I've never heard of this before. Here I was, a mom of 3, and I had never heard of it before. My parents had never heard of it before. When I said, oh, he has RSV, what is that? I don't know.
Yeah.
And that's okay to say, I don't know. Do your research, find out what it is, and just be aware.
Be aware.
And another thing I just really want to say is, if you have a small child at home, don't be afraid to turn guests away during this cold and flu season. People will understand. And don't kiss other people's babies. I know that sounds so silly, but wash your hands, cover your mouth, don't kiss babies, because you don't know what kind of germs. Just because you're not sick doesn't mean
carrying, whatever virus that you're okay with and you don't feel any symptoms.
And you can pass that. Yes, definitely.
You can pass it to
absolutely,
your child.
for sure.
So let's talk about how it is to be a mom of 4.
I know.
And how you manage that.
It's funny because, sometimes I forget things, that's normal. And I think it's normal for any woman. And everyone's always like, well, you got 4 kids. And I don't want to use that as an excuse, but sometimes I do use that as an excuse. I'm like, yep, I got 4.
So if you're not following her on
Yeah.
Instagram, you
should.
need to,
It's
because
fun.
there was this amazing video
Yeah.
that you posted, because your husband was away, right? Was he gone?
Oh yeah, he was in Colorado doing research. It was like business research. I'm like, give me a break. You're at restaurants, hanging out, that kind
And
of thing.
Shanisty has all 4 kids in the kitchen,
Oh,
and
yeah.
they're singing. What song were you guys singing?
Frozen 2, one of those, I don't know, Frozen 2 and the Coco soundtrack are on repeat. Like, when your children learn how to use Alexa, I don't know if everyone has Alexa.
Yes.
It's good because I don't know the answers to things, so I'm always like, ask Alexa. Ask Alexa. I don't know. I don't know. But at the same time, they know how to play the same songs over and over and over
That's
again.
right.
So we're just singing.
And she's carrying the baby.
Oh,
and
yeah.
you see everybody
great.
doing their part. It's a great video. I
We
mean,
have
it's
fun.
just fun.
Yeah, that's how you have to handle
You do,
parenting.
exactly.
I
You
don't,
just-
I don't, everyone gets stressed. I
Yes.
don't want to say I don't get stressed, but my gosh, like, have fun with it, because I've already seen my oldest is 7 now, and I know that's
Wow,
not
time
super old,
flies.
but it flies.
Yes,
it really
it
does
does.
fly, and I can't just keep having these kids to,
Yeah.
to
So,
make up for that gap.
Is
but-
there anything
Yeah.
that you have learned over the 7 years of being a parent that you wish you would have known sooner, or that you wish you would have done more research on, or
Ooh. Oh, that's a good question. I always say my biggest stress is just the house not being clean. Like, that is my thing. I think we all have the thing. I know a lot of parents will say to me, oh, I don't know how you go to the grocery store with all 4 of them. I could never do that. I don't know how you go out to eat with all 4 of them. Like, I've always been on the go. And for me, I know every parent is different. I think it's healthy for my kids to be out in public and be humans, you know.
Yes.
I know that they're not perfect. I think that, the big thing that I like to connect with people on Instagram and on my blog is just to be authentic. No one wants to, I stage photos, okay? I'm not going to say I'm not guilty of this, but just be real, enjoy your children, put the phone down, turn the TV off, just enjoy them, because it's almost going to make me cry, but I just keep thinking, like, is this the last time they're going to ask me to do this or ask me to do that? Because there will come that day where they no longer ask for those things anymore.
They can do it for themselves, and they don't need you.
Or they
to
don't want
do it.
mom.
Yes,
Like, they're
yes.
embarrassed by me, which I'm sure
Yes.
they probably
They're
already
gonna be
are.
rolling their eyes when
Oh,
you say something
For
before
sure,
you know it.
for sure. My daughter's already there. She's 5. But I just think that you just enjoy it, and it's loud, and it's messy, and it's sticky, and it's chaotic, and that's the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
That's I wouldn't change anything.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
and I think not putting that pressure
On
so much
yourself.
on
There's so
yourself.
much pressure. Yeah, and social media is the worst about it. And I think it's okay to just shut down from it. And if you're following somebody that's making you feel inadequate, then don't follow them. And I could go on and on about social media.
Yes.
That's for another day.
Yes.
Yes, we could do a show just
yes.
on that topic.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, especially with mom shamming and everything.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah, I agree. I
Yeah,
agree.
that's a reality. Well, it was amazing talking to you today about Outer Sweet, and I think you're just such a passionate advocate, right, for
Yeah.
bringing awareness to this really important subject. And I just admire you. You're doing this with 4 young kids at home, and you're putting so much effort into making other people understand what it means to have RSV. How do you advocate for your kids?
Yeah, and I think that if it starts small.
Yeah.
I mean, we started with Adam. We just enrolled him with the research program at Nationwide Children's, and then I got to know the doctors, and because I talk and I want to ask questions and I want to know. And I think if it was anything that my children had, I would still feel the same way, because we're all just people. We're all normal. Just because your child had this and yours doesn't mean anything. I think it's just sharing stories so we can all connect and become a community.
Yeah, and I think that's the most important thing I think that you've done too is just bringing your story to Washington.
Yeah.
Because
Absolutely.
every parent that brings their story, for whatever case that is, it's a voice, and our voice needs to be heard.
Especially for babies, because they don't have one.
Exactly, exactly. Well, that's our time for today. Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Shanisty, for
Thank
being
you,
here and
Shanisty.
sharing your story and bringing awareness and educating our parents. For anybody who's listening, we really just want to just bring you that awareness. Nina, you want to wrap up?
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
We really appreciate having you today.
It was fun.
And,
Have me back. I'll do it again.
Yes, and just to remind everybody, you can find us at workingwithparents.com. This is our show for today. Please tune in next week. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.